match for the TNT Championship as well. The Elite seems to be all together at this point, and we had some very solid promos both from MJF, Jericho, and Miro, pushing a lot of stuff forward on this show. And this show, I think, was probably one of the best paced Dynamites they've ever done. I didn't feel like it dragged at all. They did they didn't have as many commercial breaks during the matches. They did a lot more of the commercial breaks between matches, which I liked. I don't know. I think just everything flowed better. And like I said, those commercial breaks between matches gave a break to, take a second, digest what you've just seen and what's happening. And then you're ready to go once they come back from their 2.5, 3 minute break. I thought this was a very good episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also glad we didn't have to hear JR repeatedly say restaurant quality picture in picture. Which I still don't know what that means.
Not only that, we had 6 matches, and all of them were singles matches. There was no multi-man matches on this show at all, which is a rarity. And I think it just worked out really, really well.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that they were all singles matches until you just mentioned it.
I have to say, I love Alex Abrahantes with Penta. He is awesome.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes.
All right. So before we get into this, you are listening or watching to the That's Wrestling podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live on YouTube and Twitch. So if you follow the links in the show notes, you can either follow or subscribe or whatever the platform is to just monitor the channel. If you hit the bell over on YouTube, it'll let you know as soon as we schedule a live stream. Twitch is pretty standard. It lets you know as soon as you go live, but YouTube at least lets you know as soon as you schedule, which is good for stuff. Because we shift a little bit back and forth. Today we're doing 7 p.m. Eastern for this show. Sometimes we do 6. Sometimes we have to push it to 9 because we have co-hosts all over the country. So lots of different time zones, lots of different things. And then as far as New Japan goes, they don't have a set schedule, so we are all over the map for that. Anyways, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, you can send those to Eric at that'swrestling.com. Follow us at that'swrestling1 with the number 1 on Twitter. You can join us in our Discord server. Link is in the show notes for that. And head over to your favorite podcast app of choice and drop us a review for the show. And back with me once again, because Caleb still doesn't have internet at his house, at his new house that I think he closed on like 3 weeks ago at this point. Darryl W. Perry, how's it going, my friend?
Going pretty good.
All right, so let's just get into this show. They start off the show right away with a I thought it was a big match, especially considering all the matches that were on the show. I think really every match except for one what I could qualify as a big match or a big deal. And this was Ricky Starks versus Hangman Adam Page. Taz was on commentary. Hook was at ringside. There was an inset with Starks, and he was saying that basically that Hangman chokes every time he gets to the top and he can't handle the pressure, but Ricky Starks, he can. They start off with a little bit of rolling Hangman catches Starks out of midair from a leapfrog, gives him a power slam. We have Hangman hitting a springboard lariat on the apron, crossbody to the floor. This match was pretty back and forth until Starks seems to have hurt his ankle. He had a very strange landing out of a move, so it seems that it was kind of a legit strain or sprain. There's really no news on what it actually is. So I'm guessing it was just kind of one of those, you twisted your ankle, but no damage.
Well, I went back and watched because you and I both were watching the fight feed, and at some point during this match, the fight feed just like restarted with the intro credits and intro song. And so I went back, watched this full match, and it was when Ricky Starks tried doing some kind of springboard move, jumping like 3/4 of the way across the ring, and Hangman caught him with and right after collecting his ankle. And so commentary picked up and sold like, oh, he must have landed wrong here. He's grabbing that ankle. And so from then on, he was sort of favoring the ankle. So I don't know if it was, a legit injury or not. But it was that move right there that sort of tweaked the ankle. And I just want to say that I like the way they started the show both with a match and a promo by having one of the guys give the promo during the entrance.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was the recorded promo. It wasn't, the 1995 Jericho and WCW talking on the way to the ring promo, which he said he did because they wouldn't give him extra time and told him if he wanted to talk on the way to the ring, he could. I also liked Hangman's lower third this week that said, poor interview etiquette.
I totally missed that. That's what somebody wrote in the chat. Was that you who wrote that in the chat?
That was me that wrote that in the chat.
I totally did not understand. I could not understand what that was about. I thought I had missed. Apparently, I did miss something.
No, it's Hangman's lower third, which he always has something interesting on his lower third. A couple of weeks ago, there was a reference to the Lil Nas X song, Montero, Call Me By Your Name, and then whichever guy from the Acclaimed he was fighting that did the pre-match rap made a Lil Nas X reference, and so that's kind of how those two particular things tied in. But yeah, this week, poor interview etiquette.
My favorite is still back in April at the beginning of the pandemic. It said social distancing since November, even though the pandemic had not even started yet.
Yeah, I also liked the one about he didn't like the different colored wrist tape.
Mm-hmm. So Ricky Starks selling the ankle here. Hangman hits a vertical brain buster, a really nice vertical brain buster for a 2 count.
Yeah.
Starks comes back with a Liger bomb for a 2 count. Hangman hits an avalanche follow-away slam and then a massive lariat for a 2. Starks ducks a buckshot lariat, hits a spear for a near fall, but then Hangman comes back and he submits Starks with a bulldog choke with added pulling on the ankle on the other side. So either they had that spot planned or Page and Starks were quick thinking on their feet to add in the ankle injury into the submission.
Yeah. And then, of course, Taz on commentary selling, he grabbed the bad ankle, and of course, Starks tapped out fairly quickly after getting put in that submission.
Yeah, and post-match, Taz grabbed the house mic. He's saying he's trying to get Hangman's attention, says Hangman got lucky, but he needs to watch his back. Hook is in the ring and chop blocks Hangman from behind. Starks and Hook beat on Hangman for a little bit. Brian Cage comes out to join the party, but before Brian Cage can hit a power bomb or anything, the Dark Order run out and run off the rest of Team Taz, and Hangman is yelling at the members of Team Taz who are up on the stage, kind of goading them on to come fight him. So interesting. We basically have Hangman Page and Christian Cage in a feud with Team Taz. So I'm assuming we're going to get Hangman and Christian versus, I don't know whether it's going to be Cage and Starks or Hook and Cage or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like it probably is going that way. And of course, not sure if you noticed, Colt Cabana came out with Dark Order, and I just looked. Apparently, he has been an official member and has been given the number 8 as of last summer.
Yeah, he had basically been with the Dark Order. I didn't know they gave him a number, but it makes sense he would get a number.
Yeah.
They just haven't really called it too much.
At least according to Wikipedia.
Yeah. I wouldn't be... that sounds right. He's been completely with the Dark Order and has really come in with BTE. As far as... Since I just mentioned BTE, it's not... Nothing happened on BTE this week. So, there's your BTE report. Nothing huge happened.
Penta says nothing happened on BTE.
Let's see. After the commercial, they show the Elite arriving, and they have their own private trailer now. So that is out in the parking lot. That will come into play later. And
their own cameraman.
Yeah, but Brandon Cutler has been their private cameraman for years now. So
I did not know that because... Yeah. Oh, right. Brandon Cutler was hanging out with the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks are... I got it. Mm-hmm. I'm a little slow.
Penta... we have Penta versus Trent, with Orange Cassidy with Trent and Alex Abrahantes with Penta. There's an inset promo with Penta and Alex with a lot of gusto announces, Penta says, best friends, you should have never reignited this feud with Death Triangle. Cassidy, if we ever get a hold of you, we're going to squeeze you into orange juice. So Alex is awesome. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and of course, I forget who it was on commentary mentioned the last time someone threatened to squeeze Orange Cassidy into orange juice. We remember what happened, and I believe that would have been Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Orange Cassidy wound up winning that feud, turning Jericho's $7,000 jacket super orange, and then having the Mimosa Mayhem match. I'm curious what sort of weird match stipulation they can come up with between Orange Cassidy, hopefully in conjunction with the Best Friends, versus Death Triangle.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. In the chat, Davis, calling back to the Elite, Davis says Brandon Cutler needs a raise. Actually, Brandon Cutler has 2 contracts. He has one with AEW, and then he has one with the Bucks to be their camera person. If you follow BTE, he has 2 jobs. He has 2 contracts. All right, so we have Penta versus Trent. Penta's mask is very Batman inspired, including having ears. I don't think I've ever seen him wear this mask before. Have you?
I don't recall seeing it.
Yeah, I don't either. Trent hits a jumping double knees to Penta when Penta was coming off the ropes. That move was just awesome. Hits a flip dive to the floor where a commentary mentions, hey, Trent, you're just coming off of pec surgery and recovery. Should you really be doing moves like that? JR being a little crotchety there as well, kind of chastising that Trent would even try something like that after an injury. Back in the ring, though, Penta hits a springboard cross body and a sling blade for a 2 count. Then Penta hits a destroyer, but both guys end up rolling out to the... not here, sorry. He hits a destroyer. Both guys are slow to get up here. Penta hits a roundhouse kick to a kneeling Trent. Then he dumps Trent to the outside. This is where it got a little formulaic because that right there happened right before the commercial started. And Penta is just like, why are you trying to extend this match? You just hit a destroyer on the dude. And when he was kneeling, you just gave him a wicked roundhouse kick to the head. He didn't even go for a cover, and he just kind of tosses Trent through the ropes to the outside.
Yeah. And I forget, was this the match where I believe it was Excalibur said, like, we might actually see a finish during the commercial?
Yes.
But of course we didn't.
Yes. I want them to do... I want them to do a freaking finish during the commercial.
Yeah.
They need to do it. Anyways, Trent ducks a Penta chop and Penta hits the ring post. But moments later, he's hitting chops with the hand that he just smashed into the ring post. So
the post no-sold it.
Yeah, JR says the post no-sold it. But of course, Penta ended up no-selling it like 30 seconds later as well.
Yeah.
Trent,
again, talking formulaic, I've seen that same spot from Penta and several different opponents numerous times.
Phoenix has done the spot too. I remember Phoenix doing it with Orange Cassidy, but it was during the commercial, and you could hear what Phoenix and Orange Cassidy were saying to each other, and Phoenix said, "Duck this one." Clear as day, you could hear him say it.
That needs to be on Botchamania.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Let's see. Trent goes for a cannonball, but Penta moves out of the way. Trent goes into the barricade. We have a few strikes from Penta once they get back into the ring. Trent hits a half and half and a running knee strike. Penta hits a made in Japan. They didn't call it anything, I don't think, but it was...
They called it a pump handle, and oh my God, Trent fell on his head.
Yeah. So it was a made in Japan. He got a 2 count out of that. Trent hits Penta with a pile driver on the apron, but Penta landed basically on Trent's thigh. Commentary covered it actually quite well here, basically saying, Penta, he was holding on to the rope, so Trent couldn't get all of that. So quick thinking on the commentator's part to realize that was a mile away from hitting the apron.
Yes.
Trent spears Penta on the outside, and then Alex grabs the microphone to cause a distraction, and he tells Trent, Penta says, "You suck, your friends suck, and most of all, your mom sucks." And Trent chases Alex into the ring. Orange Cassidy gets into the ring behind Alex, but before Orange Cassidy can do anything, he is blindsided by a kick from Penta. And as the ref is dealing with Orange Cassidy rolling out of the ring on the near side, on the far side, Trent gets hit by Alex with the microphone. And then Penta hits the package pile driver and gets the victory. So Alex getting physically involved in this match.
Yeah, and that microphone was also turned on.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a very audible thump. How did the ref not put 2 and 2 together?
Well, if you drop the microphone, it will make a thump as well. So there's all types of things that could make that thump.
There's a very loud thump. Trent falling over. Like,
did he fall over, or did he just turn into Penta?
I thought it was like stumbling. Yeah, so maybe he didn't actually fall the whole way down.
Yeah.
I just know that, like, back a long time ago, Eddie Guerrero would do the thing where he'd, like, have a chair, he'd slap it on the mat
and play down,
toss it to the opponent, and then, like, lay down, and the ref would turn around and be like, wait a second, You're holding a chair. I heard a loud noise. He's laying down. Ring the bell, disqualification.
Yeah. In this case, I don't think...
Now, a lot of times they cover it of, well, you can't call what you can't see, but sometimes they do call what they don't see.
True. Yeah, especially sometimes when the heels do the fake tag and they just clap.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought this was a fun match. Alex is great. I don't really want him to get physically involved in Penta's matches, but if he wants to make a vocal distraction once in a while, I'm okay with that because his delivery is just gold.
I'm fine with the vocal distraction, but having the mouthpiece get involved, I'm not so keen on that. I really don't even like it when managers get involved, like when Tully would get involved in FTR matches, like hold a foot to keep somebody down. But I view that slightly differently a little bit.
It depends on the manager. If there's somebody that eventually could get theirs, then okay. But if it's a non-wrestler, or in the case of somebody like Jake, he's old and will never end up taking anything of serious consequence, stay out of it.
Yeah.
Next up, we have JR is doing a sit down earlier in the day with the Pinnacle. JR says the wrestling world is buzzing. The Inner Circle had some fiery words towards you guys, and Tully sent along a new scarf for MJF. Tully was not there. MJF said that Tully was at home writing the playbook for Blood and Guts, but Tully sent along the new silk scarf for the summer. Wardlow gives that to MJF, and then Wardlow talks about Jericho's promo, says, Jericho, you stumbled over your words once you got to me. And then he says, because Jericho, as you were saying the words as the word Wardlow came out of your mouth, you knew you were doing something wrong. I thought the delivery from Wardlow was good here, and I like what he said.
Yeah.
And then MJF cuts a scathing promo, and he is just amazing. Go watch it. I've basically summarized it here. Says that Jericho has been on top of the wrestling world until now. And he says that that Jericho is smart because he makes it appear as though he's elevating guys, but really he's just working with guys who are already popular, basically insinuating he does this to stay relevant. Says Jericho, I'm not great for 25. That's horseshit. I'm great, period. And says that he's a top guy. He hangs around with top guys. He says he's undefeated. I am not sure what he's specifically talking about, because he did lose to Moxley. And if he's saying this year, he hasn't had a single match in 2020 or 2021. I don't even know what year we're in. Anyways, says, you call me a mark. Yeah, I am a mark for your spot. He pimps Blood and Guts, and then says, when you're in the Pinnacle, you're always on top.
Yeah. I know that MJF, he actually has a couple of losses on his record.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of, skirted around. Well, this was a tag match, and Wardlow's the one that actually got pinned, so that doesn't count. And then this was, multi-man. And that there was some kind of way that he tried to, make it to where like he didn't actually lose to Moxley, but I forget exactly what.
He cheated. He used the paradigm shift behind the ref's back when he wasn't allowed to use the paradigm shift.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yep. Mox should have been DQ'd for using an illegal move.
Yeah, that was it. Thanks for jostling that in my brain. I completely forgot about how that match ended. So there you go. I mean, MJF is amazing on the mic.
So I'll say this, like, he's giving excuses for why he didn't lose, but he's giving valid excuses. Like, he's a heel who's making sense and kind of telling the truth.
Yeah, there always has to be a grain of truth to make it believable what they're saying.
Right. And a lot of times there's not that grain of truth.
Yeah, if they're just like gaslighting you, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. But like, he's the type of guy that you would expect to gaslight you, but he's not.
Right. All right. Next up was a nice little video package for the women's title. It was basically a chopped down version of what was on the YouTube channel Road to Dynamite this past week.
One more thing on the Pinnacle segment. Sean Spears went back to the black hair.
Yes.
No more
good look.
Bleach blonde mohawk.
Yes. Yes. A lot better look. So now the Pinnacle looks like an actual like group and not full of misfits.
Yeah. If anybody is going to go back to a bleach blonde look, I would love to see Surfer Sting come back for like one final match.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a little video package for the women's title. This was, like I said, it was a chopped down version of what was on YouTube earlier in the week. Just a few words from both of the ladies before it started. And so we have Tay Conti facing Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's Championship. Dark Order accompanies Tay out to the ring. No -1 this week. He has pretty much been with her for all of her matches lately. But this was a live Dynamite, and I think pretty much all those other matches were taped Dynamites. So probably
and a lot of darks,
but mostly Dark is taped, so all of her matches had been taped with -1.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense. Live, you want to protect the kid a little bit more. So if something goes wrong, they can edit it out or retake or do whatever they need to. They start off with some strikes. They do some rolling, jostling for position. Conti hits a couple running. Basically, it was like a mix between. It was like a no-handed Kamigoye. Would you call those like no-handed Kamigoye strikes? They were basically like straight on, knees to the face. Shida rolls out of an armbar attempt from Tay Conti. Conti takes the back. Shida gets her foot on the rope to break that up. Shida hits the rising knee on the apron. A little bit of a... This is a nitpick on this one, but like Conti put herself in position when she could have just stayed where she was for a second, because Shida had walked over there anyways and was going to pull her into position. So Conti kind of put herself in position for this move, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Shida runs Conti into the barricade on the outside, and she hits like it was halfway between a brainbuster and a suplex. So she went a little over farther than a brainbuster, but not all the way into suplex territory. So I don't know what you would call that, but a brain suplex? I don't know.
a brainplex.
A brainplex.
A soup buster.
Shida works a few holds. Then Shida pie faces Conti a few times with her foot. Shida hits some strikes, hits a running knee, works a chin lock. I think this is during the commercial at this point. I don't know where the commercial was in this match. Smacks Conti in the back of the head while she has a back mount. So Shida, slight heel tendencies out of her, or just kind of frustration type of attacks out of Shida during this time. Conti hits a running drop kick, a lariat, a bunch of judo throws, German suplex, pump kick in the corner, running boot, all in a row. But Shida ducks a roundhouse kick. Shida comes in, but Conti grabs her, sets her laying across the top turnbuckle, and gives her a kick right into the stomach. And then Tay Conti goes up top, and with Shida still across the top turnbuckle, across the two top ropes, she hits a senton to her back, gets a 2 count. I thought that was actually kind of a cool move. It would have been nicer if she hit a little bit more of it. She hit really high on her back instead of kind of middling her lower back onto Shida. But it was a cool move anyways. They hits the senton, and then Shida comes back, hits a Falcon Arrow for a 2 count. Conti grabs Shida's leg as she was about to run to hit the ropes for the running knee. Shida sets Conti up onto the top rope. They fight up there, exchanging a few strikes. Shida gives Conti a backbreaker across the top turnbuckle. Conti falls out of the ring. I wrote Conti does a katana. Did I write that correctly?
I don't think that was correct.
I don't think that was correct. Oh, she ducks. That's supposed to say ducks. She ducked the katana. I'm dyslexic as hell when I'm typing, so it gets a little wonky at times. When I'm saying back, is half the time what I'm saying is not what I typed. I know what I meant there, but I didn't know what I meant there. Conti ducks the katana. Conti hits a pump kick, hits the Thai KO, but only gets a 2 count. Shida escapes a DDT and hits a crunchy for a 2 count. And then they exchange some strikes. Shida picks up Conti, gives her a backbreaker, hits the katana knee, and Shida gets the 3 count. I thought this was a solid match out of both of these ladies. There wasn't anything that was super off. And I think it was Tay Conti's best match she's had. I don't think it was Hikaru Shida's best match. I still think that was with Penelope Ford. I love that match for some reason, but this was good.
Yeah, and the near fall that Tay Conti got on Shida, I want to go back and rewatch because I could swear that I heard Aubrey's hand hit for the 3, but then she signaled a 2. So I don't know if it's something of like she just couldn't stop her hand from slapping for the 3.
Yeah.
But like that was one of the closest near falls that wasn't actually a pin.
Yeah, I didn't notice it being that close, but yes. Could have been.
Yeah, like I said, I thought I heard Aubrey's hand hit for the 3.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as the match, what did you think about the match?
Really good. Whatever that move was that Shida hit, where she just like dropped Conti on the top turnbuckle and then she fell out to the floor. Mm-hmm. That legit looks painful. I know that they know how to take the falls. But like that move, I would like to see more. Because it looks legit.
Yeah, I've only seen
really good match. I'm curious now where the women's division moves forward, specifically regarding Britt Baker, who makes a slight appearance, and also Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, as far as that, the move across the top turnbuckle, I've only seen it done one other time, and that was with Roderick Strong. He used that move once. It's very similar, though, to Colt Cabana's Chicago skyline, but he does it out of like a fireman's carry position, whereas Hikaru Shida did it here out of like a she was facing towards the turnbuckle instead of away from the turnbuckle, like Colt Cabana does.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, Britt, her music hits post match as Hikaru Shida and Tay Conti were looking at each other. She comes out and she shows the rankings up on the screen where she is sitting at number 2, but now she has moved up to number 1 with Tay Conti being knocked off of the top, and that was it basically.
I don't know if that is an official graphic or if that's just Brett sort of speculating of what will happen next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because Britt the last few weeks has been having matches on Dark and Dark Elevation. Those matches wind up appearing, I'm using air quotes there because like in the AEW canon, those matches happen on Mondays and Tuesdays. We don't know what's going to happen with Britt on those 2 nights. So if Britt wins her matches or doesn't have one next week, then yes, she most likely will be number 1. So I don't know if that is official or if that is just Britt speculating.
It'd be most likely because it would drop Tay Conti to 10-2, whereas Britt is 8-1 this year in singles.
Right. But again, like the rankings don't come out until Wednesdays.
Wednesday before the show. Yeah.
Just before the show. So we still don't know what's happening Monday, Tuesday. Until it is official, I'm viewing it as speculation.
Yeah, but I'm thinking where it's going is Britt is taking the title off of Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing in a month.
Yeah, and I was speculating last night in the chat that there might be maybe a number 1 contender match between Britt and Thunder Rosa at Blood and Guts. But there was one of the promos that, and by promo here, I mean, a promotion done by the announce team where they mentioned, tickets on sale for Blood and Guts, and they mentioned it being a 1-match event. So I'm wondering if they're intending the Blood and Guts match to go the full 2 hours.
I doubt it. I think it's kind of the saying in the business is there's one big match that people actually want to see and the undercard doesn't mean crap. Which is kind of weird for the announcers to say that because that's what that phrase actually means. It's a 1-match card or something like that. It's like there's only 1 match people want to see. The rest of them, who gives a crap? But I mean, it would make sense to have Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker have a sanctioned match for the number 1 contender, and whoever wins that goes to face Shida at Double or Nothing. And then I think what does happen is Britt takes the title off of Hikaru Shida, which would then put Shida's title reign at 1 year and 6 days.
Yeah. And now that I think about it, it might have been Tony Schiavone that, said the 1-match event thing, which again, if it means what you're saying it means, and I have no reason to not believe you here, he's kind of underselling everything else, and this might be his second that'll put butts in the seats moment.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we had Miro is basically a pickup of last week. Again, he says it's been another week and no Kip. Basically says he hates unresolved business. He needs vindication. He says he doesn't care if you're walking around backstage with your slimy Impact mouth You probably should have said mouthpiece, meaning Don Callis and Kenny Omega. Or your emo face paint dad, referring to Sting and Darby Allin, of course. This company can put me through all the hoops and diversions they want, but they can't keep me from my destiny any longer. The real question is, which champion will I beat first?
Shida. He's going to beat up Hikaru Shida. I'm joking. That's not going to happen. But it would be kind of funny if, like, she's the first one that he runs into when he's in a bad mood.
All right. Then next up, Tony is in the ring and he introduces the Inner Circle. Jericho pimps Blood and Guts, says that it's going to be the most brutal match they'll ever see on TNT, and they will leave a trail of tears to the front door of the Pineapple. Sammy leans in a little bit. The front door of the Pinnacle, and that the trail of tears started last week when Mike Tyson punched Cash Wheeler's teeth down his throat. Jake Hager has some straws and he's throwing them at the camera and says, and I quote, "When we're through with you, you'll be sucking on your own meat through a straw for a month. You suck!" I thought Hager's purposely bad wording was freaking hilarious. I think
purposely bad wording, plus he wasn't talking really into the microphone the whole time.
Yeah, I think that the wording was purposefully bad, not that he screwed up the wording and not that the wording was totally jacked by him. I think he said exactly what he was meant to say.
Sucking your own meat through a straw.
For a month. You suck!
For a month. And then Jericho asked Sammy what's straw in Spanish.
Yes.
And I forget.
He said like
Sammy said.
El Stradido or something like that. It was funny.
Yeah.
And Jericho's like, exactly. Anyways, he continues. He says that he saw the sit down with the Pinnacle with JR. And then he says, I realized that none of them say anything. MJF does all the talking. They're like a bunch of mutes, which is kind of funny because Jericho does most of the talking for the Inner Circle. Yeah.
But he also quickly said the JR sit down with the Inner Circle and then corrected himself to Pinnacle.
Correct. He did do that. Santana says MJF and Wardlow came into the company saying that they want to face the best, but they wait until they have a crew to step up to the Inner Circle. Santana says that was a smart move on their part, but where we come from, that's just a bitch move. He says that we have seen the color of your blood, but on May 5th, we're going to see the size of your heart. I thought this was decently delivered by Santana. I think the wording could have been cleaned up a little bit, but I'm not sure to what. It just kind of felt a little polished, I guess.
I don't know. I really liked it, and it would have been fine if they would have cut it there. But it got so much better.
Let's see. Jericho picks back up. He says he feels that MJF, he doesn't have any conviction in what he's saying. Says he feels like he's reciting lines from a high school drama class or singing show tunes when he was 5 years old on Rosie O'Donnell. Jericho.
I found the video of that, by the way.
Yeah, it's been floating around for a long time.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I did a search, and yeah, it's hilarious. And at one point, you know, Rosie is talking to him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he says, an opera singer. Well, if that doesn't work out, a wrestler. So, like, even at 5 years old, you know, like, he knew he wanted to be a wrestler. And then, of course, Rosie made a joke about an opera singing wrestler, which I think MJF as an opera singing wrestler would be that much better of a heel.
Jericho says he wrote a show tune about my jerk-off friend. He sings a purposely bad show tune where he can't rhyme swirly at the end of it, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Did you write down word for word the show tune? Because I didn't.
I did not.
Okay. It was funny. Anyway, these promos were long. You should go check them out on YouTube if you missed them. Says that May 5th there will be a lesson in violence. Says he's sick of us doing promos by ourselves out here while you guys are backstage. And says next week they're going to have a good old-fashioned parlay. Says they're going to give them a beating so brutal on May 5th that you better own your soul, because at Blood and Guts, the Inner Circle is going to own your ass. I thought that was a great line.
Yep. And he also explained what a parlay was. Basically, both factions will be in the ring and sort of having a face-off and talking about what the match is going to be.
Again, solid promo. Even just the little mess ups. I mean, Jericho's still one of the best when it comes to this stuff. Next up, we have Billy Gunn versus QT Marshall. There's an inset as Billy Gunn is coming out with QT and company. Agogo says the laziest heel thing you can possibly do. He says, as an Englishman, I hate America, but this is where you come for them to make the money. So, like, isn't like a foreigner dissing America like the laziest heel thing you can possibly do?
It sounds like everything Vince McMahon has ever done with every foreign guy ever when he wants to turn him heel.
Yeah.
I hate America. And then who was it on commentary that said, well, if he really hates America, he knows what he should do, which is like the whole, if you don't love it, leave it.
Yeah, that was JR who said that. Anyways, he says, but you have to come here to make the money. QT says, Agogo, you're going to make that money, and tonight we're going to show Billy Gunn what happens when you stand with Dustin and Cody Rhodes and the rest of the Nightmare family. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
So Billy Gunn got his last name back. I don't know when that happened.
Nor I. They also mentioned that he was on, or maybe it was in the lower third. Billy was on an unbeaten streak of 17 matches.
Yep. He has won his last 17 in a row.
I went to the AEW website and then pulled up the roster and tried to click on his name to see what his actual record is, but because he's listed as a coach, they don't show his record.
Oh, that's funny. I guess you have to go to cagematch.com and find it there.
Yeah.
So this Billy Gunn is smart and attacks the factory as they're coming out of the tunnel to cut them off at the pass. He's no dummy. He's been around forever. He knows with all these guys coming out, somebody's going to cause a problem. We'll come back to this in a minute, though. Billy Gunn pretty much beats the crap out of QT for a while. QT can't even get like anything started until they're on the outside. Camarado and Solo, they start to interfere. They push Billy into the ring post, and then the Gun Club of, oh crap, I forget his other son, Austin. What's the other one's name?
Colton.
Austin and Colton jump the barricade, and they fight with Solo and Camarado, and they fight off out behind the barricade, out into the crowd, basically. Behind, and then Billy still just keeps throwing QT Marshall around. And then QT avoids the Famouser. Billy avoids a Diamond Cutter. But behind the ref's back, Agogo punches Billy in the gut, and he drops. and as he's slow to get up, QT Marshall hits the diamond cutter and gets the win. So really, this was just a vehicle to get over QT Marshall's guys. After the match, Ogogo grabs a wooden chair from underneath the ring and hands it to QT. Dustin runs out with a bull rope. He hits QT Marshall with it. He fights with QT, and he tosses down the rope, opting for the chair instead. Ogogo distracts Dustin for a second so QT can duck out. Camarado comes in from behind, but Dustin turns before he gets to him. And then Dustin hits Camarado over the head with the wooden chair, and it explodes into a zillion pieces, and Camarado no-sells it. And the ref separates everyone. Here's my problem. Camarado no-sells the chair shot, but Billy Gunn beat him up at the beginning of the match with just with like a punch.
Yeah. That is one of the things that just like makes absolutely no sense. Kind of like how, one wrestler can hit a move and it's just another move in the middle of a match, and then somebody else hits the move and it's their finisher. Looking
Correct.
at the back elbow, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, well, that one has like a little story behind it, sort of like, he's training it and he's perfecting it. It's not just like another move in his moveset. It's perfection. That's why some of these people can use it as a finisher, because they hit it just right where everybody else doesn't. But,
so cagematch.com shows that Billy Gunn has a 26-8 record in AEW, 3-3 in singles matches.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he has had a lot of tag matches, usually with Austin. All right, this match was fine, but like I said, it was just really a vehicle for Solo, Ogogo, and Camarado.
Yeah, and Dustin has a new style of face paint. So instead of I forget if it's the left or the right side of his face painted, it's now the lower half of the face.
It's like a paint on gator.
Yes.
Paint on neck gator. I think it's a cool look. I don't know if he's going to continue using it or he's just going to kind of mix it up and do different ones. But
I hope he continues using it. But maybe we should start a GoFundMe to help the wrestlers in AEW be able to afford more face paint. Since only Sting has full face paint and everybody else with paint only has like half of their face.
Right? Yeah.
Although Darby does spend some of his face paint money on painting half of his chest.
Yeah. All right. Next up, the Elite is in their private trailer, and Dawn says, this is history right here, having all of these talents together. Matt says, this group is the reason why business went up in Japan, why there are t-shirts in stores all over the country, and why there's even an all elite wrestling in the first place. And then Kenny starts to try to address the camera. He starts multiple times, but there's somebody honking a horn outside, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And then we find out it's Moxley and Kingston in a big old pickup truck. Moxley drives his truck into the side of the Elite trailer. They get out of the truck, walk around the other side, and smash a window with a pipe, go into the trailer. But in the aftermath of hitting the trailer, the Elite had made their exit, so there was nobody in the trailer when Moxley and Kingston got inside. Moxley, when they're heading back towards the truck, Moxley tosses the pipe over Kingston's head through the window, and Kingston is like, "You gonna wait till I get out of the way?" I want to see a reality TV show with these guys, even if it's a 10-minute a week on YouTube show, because these guys are gold together.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have this chemistry to where even though they talk over each other a lot, it's not in a like being rude kind of way. It's just like they're both so hyped and excited about whatever is happening.
Yeah, and it's not in a I'm just gonna talk for the sake of talking, because they may start talking over each other, but they end up responding to what the other person said.
Yeah,
which is just so good. Like I said, I want a reality TV shows with these guys. Screw Cody and Brandy. I want the Mox and Kingston show.
Oh yeah, when does the Cody and Brandy show begin?
I don't know. I think sometime after Double or Nothing, but I'm not totally sure.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll have to look it up. Next up, we had Christian Cage in his second match of his AEW career against Powerhouse Will Hobbs. Really, there's not a ton to say about this match. This match was Christian trying to use his speed and finesse, Hobbs using his power, and really, Christian got beat up quite a lot during this match. He's just kind of ragdolled around. But I mean, this is the type of match that Christian excels at, because he's always been, I mean, he's not small in comparison to the population, but in WWE, he was on the smaller end of the spectrum. So him playing the smaller guy role, this is like his bread and butter. So he gets thrown around. He bumps around quite a lot. Makes a comeback using his speed and strikes. But then Christian eats a spine buster for a 2 count. Christian hits Hobbs with a power bomb by pulling him off of the top rope. Hits a frog splash off the top for 2. Little bit of back and forth. And then Christian just catches Hobbs, who was being a little cocky. Christian hits him with the kill switch, and he gets the victory. And Taz, who once again was on commentary, is incensed about what is going on, that Christian just beat his guy, and both of his guys have lost on this week's episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, and the kill switch, I know it's a move that Christian's been using for decades, but the setup of that, it just seems like a bigger guy could always prevent you from doing the move.
I think in this instance, it was quick. He grabbed the arms, spun it around, and hit it. It wasn't like slow between spinning him around and then hitting the move. So I think I can forgive it in the context of what happened in this particular match.
Okay.
But I do agree, if there's like a delay, then there's a problem.
Yeah. And also a premiere date has not been set for the Cody and Brandy Roads to the Top reality TV show.
I'm curious if they're going to wait until Brandy gives birth, and then they'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So that would probably put it in mid-July, August type of area, if they want to have like the first season go through her entire pregnancy.
Yeah,
that would probably be the finale of the season, is them having their baby. So that would kind of make sense.
One more thing on this Hobbs Christian match. JR called a spine buster a power bomb.
Yes, he did.
And then Taz called him out on it.
But there was a power bomb right after that too.
Yeah, but the spine buster is the thing he called the power bomb.
Yeah.
And Taz said, "You mean a spine buster?" Well, there was some power behind it and something.
I'm curious if he got crossed up because he was going to say something along the lines of Powerhouse Hobbs or Powerhouse, and somehow just mixed it into I've done that with words before. Like my brain
Yeah.
jumps forward in the sentence, and I pick up halfway through a word earlier, and it was completely wrong. And of course, we've had this with my typing earlier when it says "does a katana" when it was "duck a katana."
Yeah, and I was watching the most recent Botchamania where they had some Tony Schiavone commentary from Dark Elevation where he was calling everything the wrong move. And
it's a blue thunder bomb. They're all blue thunder bombs. After the match, Ricky Starks limps out to the ring to check on Hobbs, and Christian just kind of slowly makes his way out, and they just kind of stare at each other. But nothing really happens, so I'm guessing this is where we're going. We're going to end up having Christian versus Starks. Maybe we'll end up switching it. We're going to have Starks versus Christian, and then we're going to have Brian Cage versus Hangman Page, and then we're going to have a multi-man between the two pairs. I think that's...
And will that be when Brian Cage turns on the rest of Team Taz?
Maybe.
Because that split's coming at some point.
Yeah, they didn't really touch on that one this week.
And I've also noticed a couple of things. That Ricky Starks is the only member of Team Taz that doesn't wrestle in Team Taz colors. And Brian Cage has not defended the FTW title in forever.
On Dynamite, at least, no. I know he has on one of the Darks, but not on Dynamite.
Okay, well, if it doesn't happen on Dynamite and they never tell us that it happens...
Yeah, exactly.
Then it didn't happen. If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, did Brian Cage defend the FTW title? No.
Okay. Next week, they announce it's going to be Pentagon versus Orange Cassidy, Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. So Kip is going to be back in the building. I'm curious how he and Miro get along. Young Bucks are going to take on Matt and Mike Seidel. They called this a tag team eliminator match or qualifier or something. I don't know.
They called it an eliminator. And they've used that term a few other times in the context of if you beat the champion, you then get a title match.
Yeah, but I don't think that's ever actually happened. I do like, though...
Nobody's ever actually beaten the champion to get the title match.
Correct.
But when Matt Seidel had the eliminator match against Omega, they called it an eliminator. If Seidel wins, he gets the title match.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people bitch about WWE doing this, but there's a different rule set for these matches because these matches are usually 20-minute time limit on TV. So versus the 60-minute time limit. So that's always been a thing with like how they play it off in the G1 as well over New Japan when Kenny Omega beat Okada in their G1 meetup, but explaining how he lost to Okada in their title match because different set of rules. They're working at a different pace because they have a clock to run up against. Blah 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 blah. So I'm okay with this type of setup here in AEW. Plus, I highly doubt that the Young Bucks are going to lose this match anyways. They have not beaten a champion before in a non-title match in AEW so far, and I don't think they're going to start with these two.
I think we're sort of on the road here to Young Bucks versus SCU.
Yep.
Presumably at Double or Nothing. And whether or not SCU winds up losing, that's to be seen, but there's still the next time SCU loses a tag team match, they're breaking up, and I forget, is Christopher Daniels retiring? quote unquote?
No, it's just that SCU will be done, and
Okay.
I've been proposing that then this would end up going into Christopher Daniels' retirement program, but I always thought Scorpio Sky was going to be the one to. Well, actually, either Frankie or Scorpio Sky would turn heel on Daniels after Daniels ends up eating the pin in the match. And then one of them would then go into the retirement program with Christopher Daniels, I think.
Right. And since Scorpio is like, he's still listed, I believe, on the AEW roster as being part of SCU. He's never officially, that I'm aware, said that he's leaving SCU. He's kind of doing his own thing now with Ethan Page, but maybe, he will wind up costing Daniels the match and then officially turning heel, and maybe there will be a Christopher Daniels retirement angle.
Yeah, that could work too with Scorpio Sky. If Scorpio Sky screws them in the end, you can play it off storyline wise that he was the first AEW tag team, or part of the first AEW tag team champions, and he for some reason is jealous that that Frankie is getting the chance again, or something along those lines. Yeah. So he can play it off as being bitter about the situation.
Yeah, there's a dozen different ways that they could play it off.
All right. So, anyways, Penta versus Orange Cassidy, Statlander versus Penelope, Young Bucks versus Matt and Mike Seidel, the Nightmare Family. I didn't write down specifically who it was going to be, but I'm pretty sure it was Dustin, Billy Gunn, and who was the third? Lee Johnson versus the Factory of Agogo, Camarado, and Solo, I believe. Was QT one of the guys, or?
I don't remember, and I'm not sure if AEW has put anything up on Twitter yet, where normally they do put some graphics. I'm not sure if they've done that yet.
Yeah. So, anyways, it will be a 3-man out of the Factory. It could be QT, Agogo, and Camarado, and not Agogo, Solo, and Agogo is the odd man out in that one. Sorry.
So hold on, they actually do have. It's not the still images. There's a video that they have. So Agogo is going to be the odd man out for the Factory.
All right, cool.
And then Billy, Dustin, and Shoddy Lee.
Yep. And then the last match that they've announced is Brian Cage versus Hangman Page. So this is the match I was talking about earlier, that it looks like Christian and Hangman are going to trade dance partners from tonight. I'm assuming Christian and Starks will maybe be the week after. Probably, maybe.
Probably.
That'll be Blood and Guts. So yeah, they could put that on the undercard. They could put Christian and Starks on the undercard of Blood and Guts.
And of course, with Hangman being the number 1 ranked singles guy, they're not putting Brian Cage's FTW world title on the line here because they can't have Cage lose that.
Right. Yeah, and it's also for basically, ranking, whether he can hold it or he gets bumped down a little bit. All right, anyways, we have a short Jade Cargill promo. She basically says every manager wants to manage her. There's quick words from Hardy and from Vicky saying they'd love to have her. But then she says, I don't need a manager. I'm my own boss. But then she says, if you want to be my manager, you'll have to make me a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
So she goes back on what she just said.
She did. She also said that every manager but then only two of them said anything. Nothing from Jake, nothing from Tully.
Arn.
There's probably somebody else. But yeah.
-1.
Yeah, definitely not a coherent, or it was coherent, not a consistent
message.
promo.
Yeah, not a consistent message out of her. And still, I don't care. I still don't care.
Yeah.
Lastly, we have the main event of the evening, and this is Jungle Boy with Luchasaurus versus Darby Allin with Sting for the TNT Championship. This started off as an old school match, lots of mat wrestling, rolling.
But before we get into the match, two thoughts here. Well, three. So first, WISH, why is Sting here? Second thought, Darby should have stuck with the cargo pants that he was wearing in the Falls Count Anywhere match against Matt Hardy. And third thought is AEW is lying to me. They say that Darby Allin weighs 170 pounds, and they tell me that Jungle Boy weighs 150. Jungle Boy is 2 inches taller and much meatier than Darby Allin.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I can't believe. I cannot believe that skin and bone Darby Allin outweighs Jungle Boy by 20 pounds.
When he's 2 inches shorter and visibly skinnier.
He's visibly smaller.
Yeah. And I have to agree with you with the pants. He should have stuck with the cargo shorts instead of the Daisy Dukes with tights underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a much better look. More menacing. It made him look more legit, I think. Now he just kind of looks a little bit goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, they start off with some mat wrestling, rolling, early pin attempts. And then they move into some striking. They fight to the outside. Darby sends them both over the barricade and landing on the concrete on the outside. Strikes back and forth in the ring. Was that at a commercial break? I'm guessing that might have been at an early commercial break. I didn't catch it. Strikes back.
Probably.
Strikes back and forth on the ring, in the ring. Darby hits a superplex. Back and forth they go. Jungle Boy hits this great crucifix bomb that actually looked like a bomb. Sometimes it ends up a crucifix bomb is more like a kind of a flop and roll into it type of deal. This one, it actually looked like it lived up to its name. Darby rolls to the outside, but that won't save him. Jungle Boy hits 3 dives in a row, moving up between each set of ropes and then over the top for the last one. Darby tries to fight back with some stomps on the floor. Darby hits the coffin drop on the apron, but both of them end up falling out to the floor. Jungle Boy barely makes the 10 count. Jungle Boy has to climb up Luchasaurus. And then we have Sting taking issue.
And, of course, hold on. Mm-hmm. So commentary mentioned, like Luchasaurus couldn't help get Jungle Boy back in the ring. Mm-hmm. Which, if the ref's back would have been turned, he obviously could have. But otherwise, if he would have assisted with the ref looking, Jungle Boy would have gotten disqualified. But somebody, and I don't remember, it might have been Excalibur, said, well, like Luchasaurus kind of assisted by being there.
Right. But he was just standing
like commentary sort of making, right. But commentary, kind of making a point of, depending on how you interpret the word assist.
Right.
But yeah, good no call by the ref there of, oh wait, that's an illegal assist. But yeah, like that was another one of those. Had he been like half a second slower, he would not have made the 10 count.
Yeah, this is why I worded it the way Jungle Boy climbs up Luchasaurus, basically, pawing his way, using his belt to pull himself to his feet, and it wasn't Luchasaurus pulling Jungle Boy to his feet.
Right.
And there's a distinction there, and this is where Sting takes issue with this. So once again, Sting is making a mountain out of a molehill, where he flew off the handle with Dark Order last time when they hadn't even done anything. So he and Luchasaurus fight up on the stage and fight down the tunnel. So yeah. Back in the ring, Jungle Boy hits a bunch of strikes. He hits the sliding elbow to the back of the head, and Jungle Boy puts on the snare trap. And Darby Allin does manage to get to the ropes to get out of it. Jungle Boy uses the surfboard with a couple rolls to soften up Darby, puts the snare trap back on. Darby uses some underhanded tactics to get out. He gouges at the eyes and pulls on the hair to get out of the snare trap.
And Jungle Boy would not have been in the position for that to happen if he didn't wind up using a cravat instead of the regular hold around the neck.
Yes, so in the snare trap, he added like a cravat type of hold onto the head instead of the usual the crook of the elbow, I guess is what he normally uses.
Yeah.
And then, so that happens.
But because of that, his face was much closer to Darby's head, and that's how Darby was able to rake the eyes or pull the nose or whatever it is they say he did, because like you just see his hand like up in Jungle Boy's face.
Yeah, it's kind of like the last chancery where you're putting your head right there. The dude can just like slap you in the face.
Yeah, it's kind of like the pinfall attempt in the Hangman Page match where Ricky Starks, instead of trying to kick out, just like reaches over and slaps Hangman in the chest, causing him to break.
Yeah.
Break the pin.
Jungle Boy hits back with some strikes, though, tries a roll-up attempt, but Darby ends up locking on the Last Supper and gets the pinfall victory there. And then we have post-match, Allin and Jungle Boy are just staring at each other for a minute, and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page hit the ring. They come in, beat up Darby Allin and Jungle Boy. Ethan gives Darby Allin the Ego's Edge. Lance Archer runs out, and he tries to beat on Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, but they give him a double nut kick. Sting comes out with his baseball bat and runs off Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and we go off the air.
And I still am confused about what the relationship is between Archer and Sting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am curious as well. Sting gave him a compliment last time they talked, and now is Lance Archer like, oh, Sting isn't an asshole, so I'm going to be okay with Sting and help out his guy once in a while. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what Archer gets out of it, so...
Yeah, I don't know where it's going, and I'm kind of okay with the slow burn on this. Where, like a lot of times they do like the really slow thing, and you're like, oh my God, just get on with it and tell us what's happening. But this, because it's a lot of non-spoken, like it's just, like stuff happening, and they both kind of happen to be there at the same time. Aside from like the couple of weird, why is Sting having a segment? Oh, it's basically so Archer can cut a promo. I'm glad that's over with. And this sort of just mysterious what is happening is going on. So yeah, give me more of this, and maybe put them in a tag match where they're on the same team.
I guess. I don't know. I'm a little confused on where Archer is. Is he a babyface? Is he a heel?
He doesn't know either.
Yeah, he doesn't know either. Yeah, I'm with you. But overall, I thought this was a very solid show. I did check out the rating. The lost about 100,000 viewers from last week, but still 1.104 million viewers. So down 9.4% from last week, and down a bit in the demo as well. But still stayed above a million. That's pretty good.
And I'm curious what else was happening last night. Like, was there, a big basketball game?
No NBA games.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's still a solid number of people came back, so that is that's pretty good. And actually, NXT even went up about 40,000 from last week as well, so they landed at 841. So not bad for both of them. I mean, that's good viewership on both sides.
Yeah. The one complaint that I would have, and AEW has done this a couple of times, where they'll make an announcement of, this person or these people are going to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was the one episode where they said, and an appearance by Sting, and then Sting came running out during a Darby Allin match. And it's like, how would you know that that's happening unless, all of this is scripted?
Yep.
And they said, Mox and Kingston are going to make an appearance. And their appearance was interrupting a segment by the Elite.
True.
So, it wound up working out really good, but unless you knew that was happening, how would you know that they're going to make an appearance?
Right, when they weren't scheduled for something else. Like, if they were scheduled to have a sit-down with JR, that would explain why they were in the building. And then they can do their shenanigans later.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hear you on that. It didn't really stand... This one didn't really stand out because I didn't really think about it, but that Sting one, that definitely happened once. Especially because I don't know if they mentioned Moxley and Kingston at the beginning of this show. But I remember...
Not at the beginning of the show, but they did have graphics up on Twitter.
Yeah, but the worst one was the Sting one, because they, at the beginning of when they're running down the show at the beginning, they said an appearance from Sting. So that one was way more egregious than the Moxley Kingston one, I think.
Yeah.
But overall, anything else you want to touch on with AEW before we wrap it up this evening?
Nothing in regards to AEW. Just want to give you a reminder. In 2 weeks, I have my heart surgery, and about a week and a half after that, I'm not going to be running it because I'll still be recovering, but I am walking a 5K, at a virtual 5K, as a fundraiser for the Concussion Legacy Foundation, raising money for that organization. If you want to donate, you can go to darrylwperry.com/CLF.
And I will drop that link in the show notes and the description of the YouTube video as well, for those of you who want to check that out.
Yep. And there was somebody on the That's Wrestling Discord channel, actually in the general chat, I don't know if he wants his name made
It's
public.
Dave. It's Dave. Dave did it.
Yeah.
He's been on this show.
Okay. I thought he had. I couldn't remember.
Yep.
But if you go, you'll see, like, he didn't donate anonymously, but he donated $100 and has challenged, I guess, everybody else that's a listener or fan of the show to match his donation. He said this is a challenge.
All right. So hopefully everything goes well. I don't know. Again, I still haven't heard from Caleb, so I don't know if he's gonna be back next week. I don't know if you can make next week.
I can do next week, but after that, I don't know when I'll be available.
All right. So thanks everybody for watching and listening to That's Wrestling. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on YouTube and Twitch, so you can follow the link in the show notes. There's a Discord. You can come hang out with us. Check out the link for Darryl's fundraising, and head over your favorite podcast app. Give us a review. Follow us on Twitter at That's Wrestling 1. Comments, question, feedback, you can send those to Eric at that'swrestling.com. You can also snag the RSS feed over at that'swrestling.com as well if you're watching this and can't find it in your podcast app of choice, but it's pretty much everywhere at this point. So for Darryl W. Perry, my name is Eric LaRoche, and you have been watching and listening to That's Wrestling.